What's up, everyone? Welcome back. I'm Grant Cohn. I went live earlier today. I didn't know the Niners were going to hire a defensive coordinator, but that's exactly what they did. And they hired Raheem Morris. And so I'm here to give you my instant reaction to this news. First, I just want to take credit for it 100%. I want to give you some credit, but I also want to take the majority of the credit because I feel like the Niners were really flirting with the idea of hiring Gus Bradley, and they even pretty much said so. He was the leading internal candidate. He would have been, just a knockoff version of Robert Saleh. He would have represented no change, no evolution. It would have been bad. And I saw a lot of people talking about why it would have been okay and why people were being too hard on Gus Bradley, and that was the plan. And if that's the plan, then they should stick to the plan. Well, I'm glad they didn't. I imagine that Gus Bradley will still be on the staff as the assistant head coach unless Saleh brings him with him to Tennessee. I don't think anyone wants Gus Bradley to be their defensive coordinator in 2026. Maybe I'm wrong. The Niners thought about it, didn't go that direction. That's great. I mean, they could have waited for Jim Schwartz, but he's under contract with the Browns. He might force his way out of the contract, but who knows? I mean, it's the Browns. They're kind of weird, and it doesn't seem like he and Kyle Shanahan are particularly close or friends anyway. So instead of waiting around for a guy you might not get, you go get a very good defensive coordinator with head coaching experience who is very close friends with the head coach. This makes perfect sense. Um, it makes perfect sense. This is a very, very good hire. It's intriguing. It's actually, I don't know if he's as good as Robert Saleh. Robert Saleh really did. I mean, the defense wasn't good this year, but it could have been really bad. It was better this year than it was the previous year, and that's because of Saleh. Under Sorensen, defense was bad, even though it had Bosa and Fred Warner and Lenore and Travarius Ward. This past year, the defense was mediocre despite not having anyone except for Lenore. So he fits. He's a culture fit. He's a friend with the head coach. He's about the head coach's age. If he stays here for 2 years and gets another head coaching job, one, he's already had 2 head coaching jobs. He one with the Buccaneers like 15 years ago when he was real young. I don't know if that even counts, but he got fired. And then most recently with the Falcons, got fired. Hasn't really done well as a head coach. So you could argue, hey, maybe he's not going to get a third opportunity, and the Niners will have uh, continuity and stability at defensive coordinator for the first time ever under Kyle Shanahan. Or he's so successful, this defensive coordinator job is such a springboard to head coaching opportunities that in a couple of years he does get a head coaching job, and if so, the Niners get a third round comp pick. So win-win. I would imagine that's what this is. But I think what the reason people are tuning in right now is you want to know, what does this mean for the evolution of the defense? How are things going to change? Who's going to fit? Who won't? Will things change? You know what I mean? Like, if the 49ers brought in Raheem Morris to do what Steve Wilks did, like, hey, man, we like that you have head coaching experience. You know, we like that we could get a comp pick for you if you're here for a couple of years and leave. We like your acumen. You seem smart. We just don't want you to run your defense. Don't bring any of your position coaches. Don't follow any of your instincts. Throw them away. Sign with us. Learn a scheme that you don't know immediately, and then coach it, and have a bunch of position coaches who don't know you and probably won't really vouch for you or convey your message the way you want it. And a bunch of players who don't know you probably won't like you. Break. That was a Steve Wilks mistake. I'm hopeful that the 49ers learned from that. I think they may have. I think the whole idea about Gus Bradley was, hey, we know that Saleh could be one and done. So let's not repeat the Steve Wilks mistake, which was, didn't Kyle talk about it at the end of your press conference? You brought him in. Maybe he did. You brought him in, but you didn't give him any time to learn this scheme that you wanted him to coach. He wasn't familiar with it, and you asked him to coach it. With Bradley, at least he was in the organization for a year. He could watch Saleh, which is kind of rich to me. It's like, okay, you could put a mediocre chef in a kitchen with Emeril Lagasse. Doesn't make him Emeril. It's because he watched him for a year. So I don't think they wanna do the Steve Wilks. I think they feel Steve Wilks failed because, it was ridiculous to ask him to coach that when he had no exposure to it. So Raheem Morris has no exposure to this wide nine thing, to this Robert Saleh thing that the Niners have been running pretty much without any changes since 2019. 7 years. And you got the OG, came back, made it work. Saleh's great. He's gone. Bradley couldn't do that. I'm glad they didn't hire him. If they're asking Raheem Morris to be Robert Saleh, he's screwed, they're screwed. This isn't going to work. It's the Steve Wilkes situation all over again. Hey, man, you can come here, but you got to keep Chris Kasarik and you got to run the wide nine. You got to learn the wide nine and coach it in the same year. Good luck. I mean, Steve Wilkes didn't do a terrible job. Defense still gave up like third fewest points in the league that season. They were really healthy that year too. But ultimately, when they came up short, he's the one that got fired. I don't think Kyle Shanahan would scapegoat Raheem Morris, his friend, the way he scapegoated Steve Wilkes, who we didn't know. So that's good. But again, if they're bringing him in to run the wide nine, this is a bad idea. But I don't think they are. I actually have some confidence that this is Kyle Shanahan finally evolving, acknowledging that his defense is stale and that he doesn't need to be micromanaging it anymore. He can turn it over to someone who he respects, Raheem Morris, and let him change it as he sees fit. Because you know what? Robert Saleh's not coming back. D'Amico Ryans isn't coming back. You're never having that. It's time to change. Gregorius Gregg's been a member for 50 months. That's a long time. Thank you, Gregorius Gregg. Hold on. Let me go live on Instagram. I always forget to do that. Benjamin Button says biggest question has to be what's going to change with the scheme. I don't think the personnel is qualified for 3-4 defense. Doubt Bosa wants to play outside linebacker, sub G. Yeah, let's talk about it. I'm going to get to it right now. Partridge Mike says Kyle Shanahan prefers a malleable DC that takes his suggestions. Jim Schwartz likely a threat. I don't know that that's necessarily what it is. You know what I mean? Because I don't look at Kyle Shanahan as being so aggressive and domineering face to face. I think Schwartz is. And I think Kyle's much more laid back and non-confrontational. And I think he probably wants people around him like that as well because he doesn't necessarily have the horsepower verbally to go back and forth. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe he does, and I haven't seen that side of him.